Hey guys, and welcome back to Free Plugin Friday, where we look at free plugins that you can use in your productions. Now today we're looking at a very simple plugin from TBProAudio. Again, we looked at their VU meter. I might look at some of their other meters as well. And it's called sTilt, which is a linear phase equalizer, but it's a very simple equalizer in that it's a tilt EQ. Now what a tilt EQ does is it has a center frequency, and as you boost, it boosts the high end and cuts the low end, and as you cut, it cuts the high end and boosts the low end. So it's basically, if your mix is a little bit unbalanced to one end or the other, you can use a tilt EQ to kind of fix that. And of course you can use it on your own sources to do that too. And this is a few extra little features that just make it really, really handy. And again, it's free, so go check it out in the link below. But let's have a little look on a mix and some individual elements, see what you can really do. So features-wise, you've got main features across here. You've got a quality mode. Now, being a linear phase equalizer, I believe this has to do with things like maybe oversampling with the kind of accuracy of the linear phase and algorithmic stuff there. Obviously, low and eco are going to use less CPU, and as you go to max, you're using the most CPU. I'll try and link the plugin manual below. I'm not sure there's an actual manual, but you can really hear the difference between these qualities. We're going to actually leave it at high, I think, as we go through the plugin. Now you have your center frequency, and this is deciding what frequency you're cutting and boosting around. You have an auto gain, which is very useful, but in practice, you'll see in a minute, doesn't work exactly how you expect. You have clip protection. That's basically, I think, a hard clipper at the top to stop it from clipping your master. You'll hear what that sounds like. You can use different channel audio and different monitoring audio. So channel audio is what it's actually doing, and monitor audio is what you're hearing. Very useful there. You also have a gain here, and I believe a wet-dry mix control. And you also have limit spectrum and bypass here. You have different slopes on each side, as you can see. And I think if you hit control, you go back to the middle. So let's just listen to it on a mix so you can really hear what's going on. We're going to turn the limit protection off. I'm going to put the center frequency back to 1000 and just have a listen there. So as we go to the right, you hear treble going up, bass going down. As you go to the left, now we're starting to clip the outputs there. So that's where auto gain would theoretically be useful. But as you can hear, it makes it even louder. So it seems what the auto gain is doing is based off some kind of slope of what it thinks you can hear. The problem is more low end generally brings up more decibels because we're not as sensitive in our ears to low end. And it also means it clips because there's a lot more energy in the low end. So I found the auto gain feature to be quite useless. So what I'm going to do is turn it down a lot just to give us headroom so we can really push it. Now it's going to be a bit quiet, which just means we're not clipping the output. So we're going to turn it down about 19. Let's go 12 dB and have a look again. So even then, as we're getting down here, I'm almost clipping the outputs because the amount of low end we're adding. And then we'll go to the high end. So it really does huge boosts at either end. Now, again, if we put the auto gain up, you don't get that boost in the high end. It actually gets quieter, which is kind of annoying, and it gets even louder in the low end. So I'm not sure what's going on with the auto gain, but don't really like it. Now you do have clip protection, and you'll hear it kind of distorts here. So that's a 0 dB to stop you clipping, but obviously it clips itself. It has to do some kind of clipping in order to do that well. Now there's this meter here, and that just seems to show more energy in the bass end. I'm not exactly sure. Now you have this limit spectrum. Now with the limit spectrum on, you don't get that boost as much. So I think this really solves that issue, but then you kind of don't get as much as you want. It doesn't really go as low. Let's go to high end with limit spectrum, compare it. So with limit spectrum on, it's kind of more how I expect it to do it. It's more of a, do you want it darker or do you want it brighter without actually doing excessive boosts? So it really depends on what you want to do. Now let's just mess around with the center frequency. So we're going to do a bit of a boost to the high end. Let's turn limit spectrum off. So we want just the high end there. Let's bypass. We do lose a lot of low end. So what if you think it's a little bit too bright in the real sizzly end maybe? But limit spectrum on is just going to bring that down. Whereas limit spectrum off can add so much low end for some reason. Now that could be actually really cool though if you start blending it. So let's bring it back down and just do a little bit of a low boost. So now we're using more like a low end EQ. Bypass. So it has taken off some of that high end and added a little bit more low end there. Let's bring it back to here, bring it full again, and check out the different monitoring. So you can monitor the left, you can monitor the right, you can monitor the mids, and you can monitor the sides. But you can also do that with the channel. So it's the sides and the mid. So let's say you wanted to bring more highs into the side, or you wanted to bring more lows into the mid, and then just monitor the mids. So you can hear it's making a difference in that mid. But if you monitor the sides, it's not making any difference at all. So that can be very useful if you just want to add a little bit more bass to the mids and cut a little bit more treble. Or maybe just darken the mids a little bit. Oh, that mix control makes it weird. I think that causes phase issues, so maybe you can't use the mix control with the mid side. If you listen to that. You're actually bringing a lot more into the mids. Yeah, that's really weird using that. It's obviously a phase issue. So it doesn't necessarily always do what I expect it to do. It does have its shortcomings or more the things you have to watch out for. Being linear phase is really, really cool. Although I did notice with that mix here, you are getting weird phase issues, especially when using mid and side. Though that can be very expected when you're doing any kind of EQing on one thing and then trying to blend it in with the dry. Even though linear phase should not have that phase problem. That's the whole point of linear phase. So it's quite interesting that's happening. If people know more about linear phase, maybe they can explain to me in the comments below why that might be happening, because that's a little bit out of my realm maybe. But otherwise, it has its uses. With the spectrum limit on, it does the dark and brighten thing you expect, but it is very easy to suddenly push a lot of gain or completely destroy the sound. Now, you wouldn't normally be using on an entire mix. You'd be using on one element or something, but to me, maybe a traditional EQ might be quicker. Though, yeah, again, it's free and has some cool features, so it might just be a quick fix, or it might be something that you can kind of work into your workflow and see if it does something that a traditional EQ or other tilt EQs can't do. So thanks for watching. Link in the description below. Go check out the plugin, and I'll see you next time.